Whoever said never meet your heroes was onto something, and it's safe to say that UFC lightweight prospect Paddy Pimblett would agree. The 27-year-old has carried his disappointment from 2010, when he met his former childhood idol Hall of Famer Stephan Bonnar into present years, making it an embarrassing event for him to recall even today. Here's what we know about this shocking fan moment. First up, Paddy Pimblett and his fans. There aren't many more fan-friendly fighters in the UFC right now other than Pimblett. From his interactions with his supporters on social media to his willingness to engage with them in person, the baddie is clearly willing to make time for those who support his mixed martial arts journey. That was evident at UFC 274, where Pimblett and teammate Molly McCann were present. In addition to their usual antics in the fighter section, much to the chagrin of UFC middleweight Jared Cannonier, a number of fans have since posted images with the pair in the arena. As it turns out, Pimblett's positive and welcoming attitude to the MMA fanbase derives from some UFC fan-related childhood trauma. According to him, Bonnar deserves credit for shaping his interactions with his fans. Next, Pimblett recalls his disappointing encounter with Bonnar as a child. During a media scrum at UFC 274, Pimblett recounted how his attempts to take a picture with Bonnar, whose place in UFC history was immortalized by his memorable fight with Forrest Griffin, were quickly turned down by the former light heavyweight fighter. Pimblett recalled that when he was a kid, they did the first ever UFC Fan Expo in London, and he asked Stephan Bonnar for a picture, but he said he didn't have time and just walked away. The English MMA fighter says he still hasn't forgotten what happened and told Stephan Bonnar to eat shit. With that rejection in mind, Pimblett knows how he'd respond should the tables turn down the line. He'd tell Bonnar that he's too busy and that he should stick it up his hoop. And now, lost everything. Stephan Bonnar's Nevada home destroyed in a house fire. Bonnar made headlines earlier this year after a devastating house fire destroyed his Nevada home, resulting in the loss of many of their possessions as well as the death of their cat. TMZ obtained a video that appeared to show the 44-year-old's home in flames after the Henderson Fire Department received a call for a residential fire at 2:40 p.m. on Monday. Andrea Bonnar, the UFC legend's wife, appears to have provided an update on her personal Facebook page. Her family had lost everything in the fire, she wrote. A public information officer for the fire department spoke with MMA Fighting about the incident and described what happened. The Henderson Fire Department responded to a house fire near Galleria Drive and Cadence Vista Drive on March 28 at 2:40 p.m. When they arrived, flames and smoke were visible from the exterior of the home. HFD upgraded their response to a 2-alarm fire due to high winds and the condition of the fire. At 3:48 p.m., the fire was extinguished. Thankfully, no transports or injuries were reported. Up next, Pimblett's callous response to Bonnar's and his family's loss. A GoFundMe page was set up to assist the family in their recovery from the tragic events. Following the horrific event, former UFC welterweight champion Tyron Woodley raised awareness for the fundraising effort on Twitter. He also promised to contribute $4,000 himself. The description on the page emphasizes the loss and damage that the Bonnar family has suffered, with a number of possessions and a pet still missing. But one man Bonnar won't be getting any sympathy from is the baddie. Pimblett joked and said that it was all karma. And now, the baddie's popularity with the masses. Many have predicted that Paddy the Baddie will one day take Conor McGregor's place as MMA's biggest name, but the 27-year-old believes he's already there, alongside former 2-weight champion McGregor and trailblazer Ronda Rousey. UFC president Dana White has also drawn parallels between Pimblett and McGregor, implying similarities in their early days on the scene. So, what's next for Pimblett? The Ultimate Fighting Championship is set to return to London on July 23, 2022, following the massive success of its UFC London event in March. Pimblett was a big part of that success, even though behind-the-scenes negotiations may prevent Paddy the Baddie from appearing at UFC's upcoming London card on July 23, 2022. All week leading up to the event at O2 Arena, Pimblett's internet metrics were off the charts. While Tom Aspinall was the main event, there was no doubt Paddy was the people's main event. So the big question is whether Pimblett will fight on July 23, 2022. He's been surprisingly quiet on the subject, and he maintained that silence in a recent ESPN interview. Pimblett unsure if he'll fight at UFC event in July. The baddie says he doesn't know as of yet and that he hasn't got a clue, but he'll see what happens. A few talks have been had, so they'll probably sort something out. Pimblett has stated that he'd be willing to return to the cage in London for the right price. Pimblett made headlines after his last victory when he revealed he was fighting on a basic $12K contract. If the UFC is unwilling to raise that and pay him like the legitimate star he clearly is, it appears that he's willing to skip the event. Next, it's not about the money for the baddie. Asked by ESPN's Brett Okamoto if he was feeling motivated to fight, Pimblett got a bit annoyed and said it Pimblett had nothing to do with motivation. The 27-year-old MMA fighter explained that he loves fighting and he doesn't do this sport for the money, but he still does want to get paid his worth. While the UFC will still sell out the O2 regardless of whether Pimblett is present, it appears foolish for the UFC to leave the country's hottest fighter off the lineup in order to continue criminally underpaying him. Of course, we all know how the promotion system works in situations like this. It's beginning to make sense why Pimblett was paired up against the extremely dangerous Otman Azaitar, who's undefeated 13-1 with 10 knockouts, according to a leaked matchmaking card at UFC HQ. Now, in other news, Michael Chandler used Tony Ferguson's move to knock him out. Ferguson stated that his performance in the first round motivates him to continue fighting despite the brutal knockout by Michael Chandler via a front kick. He's been benched for 60 days due to a suspension from the pay-per-view event's governing athletic commission, but he intends to work on his physique and conditioning while waiting for clearance. His fourth consecutive defeat came after a TKO victory over Donald Cerrone at UFC 238, marked his 12th consecutive victory and set up a rematch with Khabib Nurmagomedov. The title fight was canceled for the fourth time due to the coronavirus pandemic. Tony's recollection of what happened is still hazy, and he has no memory of being in the octagon or hearing words of encouragement from UFC Hall of Famer Chuck Liddell in the arena. He can only attribute the outcome to bad timing and fate. Ferguson said he feels amazing and has no regrets about the fight, even though his signature move may not be the front kick, as it is for Anderson Silva, Lyoto Machida, and now Chandler. However, he stated that the next time he plays, he will work on his striking game much more extensively with a new team. Ashley Evans-Smith suspended after doctor prescribed steroids. Ashley Evans-Smith, a UFC bantamweight, has not competed since late 2020, and fans hoping for a Rebel Girl return later this year will be disappointed to learn the 34-year-old Californian will be out until early 2023. Evans-Smith recently tested positive for the anabolic steroid dihydroepiandrosterone during an out-of-competition drug test conducted by the United States Anti-Doping Agency. It appears that her doctor is to blame. During an investigation into the circumstances of the case, Evans-Smith provided evidence which included medical records, indicating that a physician had incorrectly prescribed DHEA, according to a statement from USADA. As a result, USADA determined that Evans-Smith's degree of fault was reduced, and that she should be barred for a shorter period of time. She was also given a reduction because of her full and complete cooperation. Evans-Smith will be eligible to return on March 30th, 2023. Alexander Rakic tore ACL at UFC Vegas 54 and will require surgery. It'll be some time before Alexander Rakic returns to the ring. Top light heavyweight contender Alexander Rakic returned to the octagon for the first time in 14 months on May 14th at UFC Vegas 54 for what was his biggest career bout yet. Tasked with taking on former champion Jan Blachowicz, Rakic gained momentum after a strong second round in which he out-wrestled his Polish opponent. Unfortunately for Rakic, his success came to an end when just 70 seconds into round 3, his right knee gave way due to what appeared to be a ligament tear, resulting in technical knockout victory for Blachowicz. According to Ariel Helwani, Rakic underwent magnetic resonance imaging on May 16, 2022, and it was determined that he had a torn anterior cruciate ligament. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think that the baddie is well within his rights to feel this way? Or do you think it's time for him to move on? What do you think? Let us know in the comments below, and make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.